When the National Museum of African American History in D.C. first opened its doors to the public, President Obama was there to commemorate it.
Perhaps it can help a white visitor understand the pain and anger of demonstrators in places like Ferguson. But it can also help black visitors appreciate the fact that not only is this younger generation carrying on traditions of the past, but within the white communities across the nation, we see the sincerity of law enforcement officers and officials.
Imagine a Democrat saying that today. He or she would be thrown out of the party for that level of nuance. Well, now, instead of being a symbol of progress and reconciliation, the museum has embraced the radical left's language of racial retribution, all to cast America as irredeemably racist and an evil country. And you, the American taxpayer, are funding it. Isn't that neat? Now, the museum now has a website dedicated to explaining the concept of whiteness and why it's the root cause of racism and oppression in America today. According to the website, the normalization of white racial identity throughout America's history has created a culture where non-white persons are seen as inferior or abnormal. And when they say whiteness, they don't just mean skin color, but also people who value things like individualism, a stable nuclear family, the scientific method, rational linear thinking, hard work, Christianity, and being polite. Of course, these are all values that most Americans, especially African Americans, see as necessary for success and happiness. So why in the heck is the African American History Museum telling them otherwise? Here to debate it, Horace Cooper, Project 21 co-chair, author of How Trump is Making Black America Great Again. Also with me is Scotty Smart, activist and founder of the Smart Foundation. Horace, it strikes me as odd that this African American Museum would scandalize things that the data has always shown help Americans, including African Americans, climb up the ladder.
So you have a $500 million, that's a $500 million structure or edifice that apparently thinks its purpose is to offer advice to cripple black America, to say to black America the very tools that black Americans, like white Americans, have used to succeed and become prosperous. Hard work, tenacity, faith, the types of success skills that work, to call those somehow a racial category would make David Duke proud. This is really sad if that's the direction this museum is trying to go.
Now, Scotty, the following is from the African American History Museum's online lesson on whiteness. It says, whiteness operates in covert and overt ways that affect all of us. It can appear as practices within an institution or accepted social norms. Since whiteness works almost invisibly, we may not always be aware of how it manifests in our daily lives. Scotty, isn't that just making people paranoid that somehow they're unconsciously oozing racism when they're just, like many people, just trying to get through the day? It's a pretty tough time for a lot of people right now. So how does this work?
Not at all. I think that I actually love the article. I think that a lot of people should actually go and read the article. We can't keep pushing whiteness and white privilege under the rug and act like it's not an issue. It's a deep-rooted issue that we have to address. And I think even to have two black people, myself and Horace, to be against one another to have a debate on this topic is a whole matter of whiteness in itself, because he's going to sit here and try to contradict what we're talking about. And so I don't want to talk over Horace. I don't want to be disrespectful to Horace, but Horace is that token black friend that only a few white people have as well. And so we're not here to debate or not to have a dialogue, but we have to have this conversation it's an uncomfortable conversation that most people aren't willing to have, and to educate blacks and whites on our different perspectives, different narratives that we have and that we grow up within. So to have someone who is a representation of black people on your network is disrespectful.
Well, Scotty, so I invited you on the show in good faith.
Thank you.
To actually have conversation, and yet you come on the show and you kind of give a little backhand to Horace, and it's a dehumanizing. Well, it's dehumanizing to call someone a token. It's dehumanizing. And that's
false.
language that whether you're white, black, brown-skinned, whatever you are, that's a dehumanizing word. He's a human being with thoughts. Maybe he disagrees with you. That's okay. I don't care that you disagree with him. But you called him a token.
Disrespect to Horace.
Right.
I'm just saying,
No, you mean no disrespect?
Okay, go ahead.
No.
I want you both to have time to talk.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
I would
Horace.
like to focus here on the facts. Here are the facts. One of my museums that I enjoy the most is the Smithsonian Museum of American History. It is not a place where you go and you learn all about how evil America is, all about the struggle that became America. What you learn about are all of the great things that are in America. But if you want some context, if you're going to have this museum, where is the part about slavery? Because today on planet Earth, in Africa, dominated by black people, that is the ground zero of where slavery is. And if you had a history museum about it, it would show the role that those countries and that continent played in getting it started in the rest of history. That's a fact, and it has nothing to do with tokenism.
See, a lot of times, yes, but a lot of times what you're doing is you're avoiding the issue at hand. And what we have to do is for us to grow as a country, we have to address these issues head on, not sweep it under the rug, not try to give us alienated or descriptive facts that don't address the whole issue. We have to speak truth to power and really
That's
understand.
exactly what I want to do.
That's the same here, and that's why I said I don't even understand. To be honest with you, Horace, this is not a conversation that two black men should be having. There should be a white person
absolutely.
who listen.
You
listen for 1 second. It's for a white person who lives within the realms of white privilege and how their differences are between black Americans. For you to have this point of view for many black Americans, that's not the norm. Maybe it's your norm.
That's
but
not true.
To be a representation of black Americans, that's very disrespectful to black America, and for you to be the talking point or the face of black America on this network.
The radical view that you are expressing is actually the minority view. That is not the popular view. More black Americans than white Americans are people of faith. More black Americans than white Americans believe in the value of having law enforcement protect their communities. Many of the very things that you're sitting here saying are the exact opposite of what surveys say that black Americans think. So let's stick with,
so did you read the
have an
article,
opinion, you have a radical minority view opinion, but it's just an opinion. And it's not informed by history at all.
Yeah, Scotty, we have to go. I'm glad you came on tonight. I think,
thank you.
You know, I want to continue to have this conversation with you.
Can I make one final point?
Sure, go ahead.
Did you read the article, Horace? There was a point in there they call it internalized racism. And what that is when the oppressed group believes that the racial views that society communicates are true.
Did internalized racism cause blacks in the 15 and 1600s to sell other blacks to Europeans?
As the great
Did
Malcolm X once
internalized
said,
racism
who taught
cause
you to hate yourself?
blacks to own slaves in America? This norm that you're presenting as mainstream is extremely radical and extremely a result of a lack of understanding of our actual history.
Well, this is a big conversation. I'm glad you both came on. I think we have to remember that in a lot of these cases, white liberal academics came up with the lingo, right? They're kind of foisting lingo on black and brown-skinned people that, you know, they think is adequate to whether control them or define them. So that's part of this. This is a white construct put on black people in many cases.
And that's why white and black people have to have this conversation together. That's
any American should be able to join in the conversation.
We got to roll, guys. Sorry, it's the tyranny of the clock here. Thank you so much for coming on. And coming up, Joe Biden's Green New Deal pitch falls flat.